Welcome to Italy TV. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thank you. The list of 11 countries that hold the most gold in their reserves has remained mostly unchanged over the last few years. Flip through this slideshow to discover which central banks value the yellow metal the most. 11. Netherlands. 612.5 tons. The Dutch central bank announced that it will be moving its gold vaults from Amsterdam to Camp Nou Amsterdam, about an hour outside the city, citing burdensome security measures of its current location. As many others have pointed out, this seems odd, given that the bank fairly recently repatriated a large amount of its gold from the United States. Number 10. India. 618.2 tons. It's no surprise that the Bank of India has one of the largest stores of gold in the world. The South Asian country, home to 1.25 billion people, is the second largest consumer of the precious metal, and is one of the most reliable drivers of global demand. India's festival and wedding season, which runs from October to December, has historically been a huge boon to gold's love trade. Number 9. Japan. 765.2 tons. Japan, the world's third largest economy, is also the largest hoarder of the yellow metal. Its central bank has been one of the most aggressive practitioners of quantitative easing. In January 2016, it lowered interest rates below zero, which has helped fuel demand for gold around the world. Number 8. Switzerland. 1,040.0 tons. In 8th place is Switzerland, which actually has the world's largest reserves of gold per capita. During World War II, the neutral country became the center of the gold trade in Europe, making transactions with both the Allies and Axis powers. Today, much of its gold trading is done with Hong Kong and China. Number 7. China. 1,936.5 tons. In the summer of 2015, the People's Bank of China began sharing its gold purchasing activity on a monthly basis for the first time since 2009. Although China comes in 7th for most gold held, the yellow metal accounts for only a small percentage of its overall reserves, a mere 2.8%, the lowest of the top 10 central banks with the most gold. China has actually been on a gold buying spree since December 2018, buying almost 100 tons from then through August. Number 6. Russia. 2,219.2 tons. The Russian central bank has been the largest buyer of gold for the past 7 years and overtook China in 2018 to have the 6th largest reserves. In 2017, Russia bought 224 tons of bullion in an effort to diversify away from the US dollar, as its relationship with the West has grown chilly since the annexation of the Crimean Peninsula in mid-2014. To raise the cash for these purchases, Russia sold a huge percentage of its U.S. treasuries. Number 5. France. 2,436.1 tons. France's central bank has sold little of its gold over the past several years, and there are calls to halt it altogether. Marine Le Pen, president of the country's far-right National Front Party, has led the charge not only to put a freeze on selling the nation's gold but also to repatriate the entire amount from foreign vaults. Number 4. Italy. 2,451.8 tons. Italy has likewise maintained the size of its reserves over the years, and it has support from European Central Bank, ECB, President Mario Draghi. The former Bank of Italy governor, when asked by a reporter in 2013 what role gold plays in a central bank's portfolio, answered that the metal was a reserve of safety, adding, "It gives you a fairly good protection against fluctuations against the dollar." Number 3. Germany. 3,366.8 tons. In 2017, Germany completed a 4-year repatriation operation to move a total of 674 tons of gold from the Banque de France and the Federal Reserve Bank of New York back to its own vaults. First announced in 2013, the move was expected to take until 2020 to complete. Although gold demand fell in 2017 after hitting an all-time high in 2016, this European country has seen gold investing steadily rise since the global financial crisis. Number 2. United States. 8,133.5 tons. With the second largest official holdings in the world, the U.S. lays claim to nearly as much gold as the next 3 countries combined. It also has the second highest gold allocation as a percentage of its foreign reserves at 76%. From what we know, the majority of U.S. gold is held at Fort Knox in Kentucky, with the remainder held at the Philadelphia Mint, Denver Mint, San Francisco SA office and West Point Bullion Depository. Number 1. Philippines. Over 1 million tons.
They are sitting on top of the world's wealth, which was put into a secret account, and it has more gold than anybody knows about. Assets, it's gold. It's more gold than people know about. It's over 1 million metric tons of gold.
So 1 million metric tons of gold is not something you can just hide. So where's the gold?
400,000 metric tons are in the Central Bank of the Philippines. There's over 200,000 metric tons in Union Bank of Switzerland, and some of that gold is buried securely in the Philippines as well. Some of it is held in various banks, but the bulk of it is in the Philippines.
So the World Bank holds the note on that gold?
No. It is in a special trust account that was set up by Ferdinand Marcos.
Oh my God! What?
The Philippines is the richest country in the world. Even President Ronald Reagan knows and said this. Did you know about Marcos gold? In 1930, Europe was in a depression and Germany was financially bankrupt. An unknown party leader promised the German people that he could create jobs and boost its economy. The Germans dared him and put him in power. His name is Adolf Hitler. In June 1933, the Vatican and Hitler, a Roman Catholic, signed a concordat for mutual protection and enhancement. Shortly after that, Hitler was loaded with money. He built a massive army and manufactured weapons for war. Then Hitler took Poland. Before 1918, there was no Poland. That land was part of Germany and used as a buffer zone to separate Germany from Russia. But when Hitler reclaimed it, England declared war on Germany. Throughout the Spanish occupation of the Philippines, members of the Tajin-Talano clan have been visiting Europe since some of their relatives were English and Austrian. From 1866 to 1898, Prince Julian MacLeod Talano had also been frequenting the Vatican. In 1934, under Pope Pius XII, the Vatican negotiated with a member of the Filipino royal family, the Christian Talano clan in Philippines. An agreement was reached that 640,000 metric tons of the Talano gold would be lent to the Pope. This was part of that gold accumulated by the Southeast Asian Empire during its glorious reign of 900 years. In 1939, 2 members of the Talano family and a Roman Catholic priest, Father José Antonio Diaz, brought the gold from Cotacinabaldo, Salga, to the Vatican. After doing this, Father Diaz went back to the Philippines and resided in Cabanatuan City. After World War II, he facilitated the safe return of the 640,000 metric tons of gold from the Vatican to the Philippines. A lease agreement was made between the Talano clan and the Philippines government. A total of 617,500 metric tons of gold was deposited in the newly installed Central Bank of the Philippines to comply with its requirement for gold reserve. Under the terms of the contract, the central bank became the holder of that gold. That lease agreement will expire in the year 2005. Having gained the trust and confidence of Father Diaz, the Talano clan made him the main negotiator and trustee of their gold. Father Diaz, in turn, hired the services of attorney Ferdinand de Marcos, then a highly recommended brilliant young lawyer having attained notoriety when he successfully defended himself in a now-undisclosed case in 1939. The Tilano clan paid commission to Father Diaz and attorney Marcos in gold, 30% from the principal of 640,000 metric tons. In 1949, the two richest men in the world were Father José Antonio Diaz and attorney Ferdinand de Marcos. Between the two of them they legitimately earned and owned 192,000 metric tons of gold. Ferdinand Marcos withdrew their share of the gold from the central bank and minted it. Sometime later, Father Diaz and Marcos brought their gold to Switzerland, in the Swiss Bank Corporation in Zurich. The remaining 400,000 metric tons of Tilano gold is in the third-floor basement of the central bank minting plant in East Avenue, Quezon City, Philippines. There are 950,000 metric tons of gold, declared missing in the International Court of Justice, picked up by Yamashita from its European ally, Hitler. Another 250,000 tons of the Japanese loot around Southeast Asia are both now in the Philippines. This country then became the holder of 1.6 million metric tons of gold bars. Some of the Yamashita gold buried in the Philippines has been found, but the bulk of it is still buried to this day. And even now, thousands are secretly digging for it, including Japanese treasure hunters. The Wall Street Journal in its November 15, 1985 issue wrote that 2/3 of all gold in the world is in the Philippines. 1/3 is divided among the rest of the countries in the world. Very few Filipinos know this. In the 70s and 80s, blood money from the Roman Catholic Church, channeled into the Philippines via the Vatican Bank and another foreign power, fueled the flames of dissension in the countryside and on the streets of Manila. A concerted church and foreign civil destabilization, demolition campaign was waged against Marcos. All that gold in the hands of one man like Marcos was a threat to those who have been used for so long with so much money and power. Marcos became too powerful and would not toe the line of the two established power in the world, the Vatican and the Trilateral Commission, USA, Germany, Japan. But Marcos was no lapdog to any foreign power. In his grand plan, Marcos wanted to re-establish the former grandeur of the Philippines and the whole region of Southeast Asia, the former Malayan Empire. In June 1983, Marcos appeared before the first world leaders in Toronto. He announced his plan to boost the economy of the Southeast Asian region by creating the Asian dollar. This would be backed up by the 400,000 metric tons of gold in the Central Bank of the Philippines and the other gold he scattered around the region. He would also add to this his own personal 192,000 metric tons in Switzerland. This Asian dollar, backed up by the 2/3 of all the gold in the world that was in the Philippines, would have made the Philippines money more valuable and stronger than the American dollar. This was his vision to raise Southeast Asia to be at par with the rest of the first world countries. When Father José Antonio Diaz, alias Severino Sandaromana, died in 1974, all that 30% commission in gold became legendary Marcos gold. After providing for his family in Marcos' letter of instruction, the whole wealth derived from this was supposed to be given to the Filipino people. This was the Marcos wealth that some politicians and churchmen kept on saying was the ill-gotten Marcos wealth that until today is in Marcos' secret accounts.
Here, 170 banks that Marcos deposited money on. Just to show you the bill of lading, how much is
$240 million. Oh my goodness. Is it million? Billion?
billion?
Billion? 240 billion?
Only one shipment.
It's for $987 billion.
Oh my God!
Can we show the
You are rich beyond compare.
No, this will save the world.
The world. So, Mrs. Marcos, are you saying you're open to giving some or an amount of this one to the country, to the Filipinos.
Not only the Philippines, but the world.
On April 9, 1973, Marcos said, "My earthly goods have been placed in the custody and for the disposition of the Marcos Foundation dedicated to the welfare of the Filipino people." During a talk show in the U.S. TV, the week following the bombing of the New York Twin Towers, President George Bush was asked this question: which is the richest country in the world today? With a smile he said, "The Philippines." Is it real? You decide. Leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching. I hope you like this video.